Hello and welcome to this special edition of the SAfm Market Update with Moneyweb. My name is Siki Mgabadeli. This evening, as we celebrate Women's Month, we're in conversation with Chichi Maponya, businesswoman, entrepreneur and chairperson of Brand South Africa. Thank you so much, Chichi, for your time today.
Thank you, Siki.
What's the best part of your job as chairperson of Brand SA?
I think it's engaging with different sectors, different people, and just getting to know what is it that makes them passionate about South Africa, what are the concerns that they have, but more importantly, really, what are they optimistic about? And I find that, as we engage with business people, South Africans who live abroad, youth in the country, civil society, we find that there's a lot of excitement about being South African and living in South Africa in particular.
Is it difficult to be optimistic at a time when the economy is so low, unemployment is so high, and there's so many things that can be said about the problems that we're facing?
I think, it's a mixed pot. You find that there's a lot of enthusiasm, there's a lot of active citizenry. People are very opinionated and they are voicing out their opinions, which is good because that is what builds a vibrant society, and it is good for nation building. But within all of that, a lot of people are saying there is so much to celebrate about South Africa and there is so much that is going right. We just need to get to the issues with, we're not creating enough jobs. And I think jobs is one big factor. And really pin it down to say, how do we get proper economic transformation? How do we grow the economy? How do we create more job opportunities? But the discussion is happening. As much as the criticism is happening, the discussion is happening. So it's a good space.
Yeah, I mean, you're a businesswoman yourself, an
Absolutely.
entrepreneur. So as much as you chairperson of Brand South Africa, you also have to confront those challenges on a day-to-day basis. How do you switch between the hats, if I can call it that?
It's a deeper passion, passion for the country, and also a deeper passion for making a difference in the community. My drive in business is, yes, I'm in business to make profits, to make money, but that is meaningless if you have derived that without really having impacted positively on people's lives. So that element of me wanting to improve and better somebody's life is what drives me within the passion of, nation branding and building a more positive attitude about South Africa.
Yin, you've been in business for a number of years. How different is today doing business in South Africa to, let's say, 10 years ago?
Today the opportunities are bigger. There are more opportunities. There's so much abundance, and the challenges are just as big, by the way, but whenever there's challenges, there are opportunities within those challenges. But I think the environment is more enabling now. It's more open. Yes, there are pockets of resistance. There are elements where funding is still not easily accessible. But there's robustness in terms of facilitation and enabling an environment which is conducive for working in the business sector. Markets are opened, through the many bilateral agreements that the country has signed on the continent and internationally. So, you are operating in a wider space, yes.
So there's just a little bit more space for people to take advantage of. Do you tailor your message as Brand South Africa differently for the domestic or the South African audience to a foreign investor audience?
Yes, to a certain element we do. Because for the South African audience, one, we are driving pride and patriotism. And when you talk about elements that build pride, that build patriotism, you're talking to the core of the society and the core of who you are as a South African. And so those elements would be different to the elements that we would be communicating to investors. But those elements are building blocks, because then when we go out to invite investors, and that is the message that we would sell to the South Africans as well, to say we are opening up for business, for investors, so that more jobs would be created, so that partnerships would be established, so that markets for some of the South African products would also be established. But when an investor comes and finds a receptive society, it augurs well for better business.
Often you have to bring in the local private sector, for example, with the World Economic Forum on Africa, when people are coming to our shores and we've got to put a certain face forward and a unity of message. Do you find that difficult, bringing both the private and the public sector into one room and saying, right, we've all got to be, to understand how each side works, but also be on message?
Yes, it is a bit difficult because, there's a sense that private sector and public sector don't talk enough outside all of these engagements which involve external parties like AWEF Africa, AWEF Davos, BRICS, and the likes. So we need to create better platforms for government to engage with private sector, to talk about issues where they want to align, where they differ, how they sort out their differences. And they don't have to agree on everything, by the way, but they need to understand each other.
And do you see that that's where Brand SA could play a role then?
Yes. I think more and more we are going to play an increasing role in bridging that gap and mending the divide and the trust deficit, as it has been said.
Been called,
Yes. We have a forum for board members at Brand SA that brand ambassadors in various areas of their expertise, where we would call a sector, say for instance, if it's the mining sector that would be engaging, we would then call all the relevant public sector departments to come and engage with the mining sector in that forum. So we haven't really opened it up that it's what it is being mooted as the CODESA of the economy of business. It's not at that level yet, but we are slowly probably would build up to that. Now we are tackling it a sector at a time.
Yes. And when you look at the way that people outside of South Africa engage with our message and who we are today, I'll never forget 2010 in Davos. We literally painted Davos in our national flag. Was that the pinnacle of it, or do you think that we still are at the forefront, at the very least, in terms of developing countries when we go to those big meetings?
We are still at the forefront of the developing countries, but I think that was really one of the best in terms of climax that we have reached in profiling the country. Yes, I mean, the euphoria was there during the elections in 94, but I think that equaled the 2010 excitement about South Africa. But we slowly, have been coming down from that, and we need to keep the momentum. We need to keep the excitement, but we can't be only focused on events to bring out that spirit of excitement and optimism about the country. We need to have a continuous program that is consistent and building up on a more sustainable basis.
All right, we're going to talk about running a business and building up entrepreneurship in the country. That is a big theme in South Africa. We need more and more entrepreneurs in order to do that multiplier effect of jobs. And that was one of the challenges we talked about in conversation with Chichi Maponya, and we'll continue in a moment.